is how we brew it.
This is how we brew it.
Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. I don't know how to rap.
This is how we brew it.
I know how to do this. We're making it up as we go, everyone.
Homebrew is where the heart is. It's where dungeon masters, murder hobos, dice goblins, and chaos gremlins come together to turn big ideas into unforgettable adventures. So how do we take that spark, a setting, a villain, a mechanic, and turn it into something that actually works at the table? Simple. We brew it. Acronyms. We've got 6 flavorful categories to walk through, designed to help you build campaigns that capture the feel of your favorite worlds and IPs. And today we're talking about Knives Out, Wake Up, Dead Man. It's a long title. Wake up, dead man. Wake up, oh sleeper. Arise. And we're going through a bunch of categories. B, base build. What are the core components? Components are resonance and vibe. This is where we make our poetic heart scene. What's the tone, theme, and details that will help this feel right? E, extra froth. What makes this wildly fun? Weird, just for us. That strange little twist of a knife, perhaps, you'd never find on D&D Beyond. I, the inciting quest. Every good campaign needs a reason to leave home, or every good murder mystery needs a murder. Yep. Anyway, T, threat level, let's talk danger. Who or what is the big bad, and how did they get away with this? And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids. All right, Taylor, we're talking about this and recording this a little early, so we don't know the exact options for what Wake Up Dead Man is about, but I'm going to ask you, what do you think it's about? Can you give me a summary?
What do I think Wake Up Dead Man's about? Well, okay, so it's Knives Out. So it's going to be a murder mystery. Somebody's going to die. Who's going to die? A man. And he's going to be asleep. And he's going to be dead. And then they're going to have to wake him up. And I think what it's going to be about is that they find the dead man and they think he's dead, but he's actually taking a nap. And then he wakes up, but then the other guy dies, and that's also a dead man. And then that's the murder mystery. Oh, and you gotta have the British guy that has a southern accent for some reason in this movie. Who's the detective?
Right. Benoit Blanc / Daniel Craig.
Right.
All right, cool, great. The episode's already over. We're good. We did it.
I think we did the whole thing. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, Detective Benoit Blanc takes on a new case that brings him into the orbit of a charismatic priest, Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, and his devout congregation. When a mysterious death occurs, Blanc must navigate a complex web of secrets, simmering tensions within the community to uncover the truth.
A priest?
It's a priest.
This is a turn. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm getting some Murder on the Orient Express vibes from that.
Right.
But anyway, so we're going to go through our categories today, and let's start with base build. And I want to ask you, what are the core components for a good murder mystery? And then we can kind of talk about resonance and vibe, extra froth, etc. That kind of makes this more Knives Out. But what's the good components of a good murder mystery?
I think one of the characters who dies, I think can be an NPC.
Mm-hmm.
I think would be more fun if it was a PC.
Oh.
I think if it was a player character and not a non-player character created by the DM. Of course, if it's a one-shot, I think it makes it fun. That it makes that okay, just because you can do fun things like making the player character a ghost who does help, is a part of the party still, but doesn't remember any details about what happened to them outside of them being a ghost. So that's pretty cool. But I think when it comes to base build, the things that are important, I think it can be an NPC that the GM creates, but I think it would be really cool if it was a player. Puzzles, honestly, riddles, clues. That I'm just thinking about the structure of what a one-shot looks like. There's usually combat heavy, or not combat heavy, but there's usually combat in one-shots. I think this one might mainly involve just puzzles and clues and discovery,
Right. So what I would say is the most important part of a good murder mystery is mostly that it's confusing but solvable.
Yeah.
Right? If it's just an impossible problem and you, the reader, or you, the watcher, are oh, at the end, you're I had no idea. And And like it was annoyingly so. Then no one's having fun. The fun parts are like, oh my god, who did it? That's the vibe. And we're all like, oh, and like you and me, Tara, were watching this thing, and we're like, oh, we paused the movie, we paused the TV show, and we're like, they did it. And you're like, no, this person did it. And we debate back and forth. Like that's like the fun part of it all, right? The other, so like that's one thing. It has to be relatively understandable, but still challenging, which is one of the reasons why this is this type of thing is very hard to do. The other would be you want to give the party at the end the opportunity to do the classic, here's what happened.
Yeah.
This person did it, and here's how they did it. And they're right. You really want that moment. You want I'm a super smart detective and here's how everything got put together, right?
Yeah.
So when I think about murder mysteries, how I would ask you or tell you as a dungeon master to construct it is I would work backwards, right? This is a very easy way to build a murder mystery is, okay, the result is this person died, and this person died via blank, and like a knife, a candlestick, by Colonel Mustard in the parlor room, right? Like you but literally determine those types of things. It happened here, it happened this, and then you kind of work backwards from that. Of like, okay, well, who could have done this, right? What other objects or weapons could it have been?
Yeah.
Like that's the fun part about all of these. Like for example, if you were to say, oh my God, this particular character who died has 15 different ways that they could have died. We don't know which one killed him, and we don't know why all these people are there, and we don't know who is ultimately guilty of manslaughter and who's guilty of murder. We don't know. The final piece of importance is you need to have the ability for people to not easily leave a location so you can actually talk to them and figure out what happened.
Yeah.
Right? Like a classic murder mystery is not like, oh man, like there's just a dead guy on the street and we have no idea and there's no witnesses, etc. That's more of like for like a cop show or a detective show or like Batman, right, to figure out. But you want like, oh, we're all on a boat and none of us can leave, but someone's dead, right?
Yeah.
To recap, you need to have a challenging but understandable problem. You need to have a ability to like, I would recommend you work backwards, and you need the ability to ask people questions and not have them leave easily, right? Them escaping is interesting as a plot point all by itself.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would generally say.
You made a really good point in like referencing Clue. I think a lot of what you can do I'm basically just going to agree with you for like 5 seconds, but I think a lot of what you can do as a GM that would be helpful is pulling from murder mystery games like Clue, like Blood on the Clock Tower, like Betrayal. Kyle, when you said, oh, it should be hard for you guys to leave, in the game Betrayal, you create the rooms as you like explore, and then you basically can't leave the house until the last person is standing. So it's like, that's like a really cool concept to make it that like, oh, I think one of the cool things about murder mysteries is that people continue to die as things go on. As like the clock ticks, people die.
Right.
And you go, oh, I think it's this person, but no, they're dead now. So the person you thought it was actually isn't the person, which obviously gets you closer to who the actual murderer is. And then like pulling from Clue, like you said, it makes it really easy to go, the only 3 things you need to figure out is who is it, what did they use, and where did they do it,
Mm-hmm.
And that you can, like you said, you can work backwards so that it's like, oh, everyone's trying to figure out what room did it happen in, actually. We found the room. Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, oh, we found the weapon, finally. Now we have to put those 2 and figure out who did it, but along the way, people were dying and danger was still happening. But yeah, and then like Blood on the Clock Tower, it's like the whole thing with people die as time goes on, so you have to really, really figure this out fast. This might be jumping to extra froth or weird for me, but I think it would make it really exciting if not just the players are the ones who are dying as things go on, but one of the players is the actual murderer, not an NPC as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
if you really want to make it Blood on the Clock Tower, you know?
Yeah. What I'm hearing from you, which I think is pretty interesting, and this is great for one shots especially, is always where you split the room and you say, all right, everybody, you 2 go in that room.
Yeah.
You 2 stay here. I'm going to go talk to those people for 5 minutes. I'm going to go talk to these people for 5 minutes. and like you go into the other room with the two people who are separated because you have a 4-person party, classic stuff, and you close the door and you say, all right, everybody, here's the deal. I'm going to need you to do this, right? And you give them something to solve or whatever, or you say, this person's the murderer, you're helping them, right? And here's what's going on. But I'm just going to hang out with you for 5 minutes, and then we're going to pretend I've told you all this information. Here's the thing we did, right? And then I'm going to leave, right? And you go back into the other room and you say, all right, everybody, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Here's some clues and information you found. Here's a puzzle. Boom. All right. And then the 5 minutes are over. Everyone comes back in. Everyone's like, okay, cool. And then you kind of know. So what I'm hearing from you, though, is sort of like we should play like a game of like Mafia almost, right? Which is a more simpler version if you've never played Blood on the Clock Tower or Betrayal or whatever, right? Like kind of play a game of Mafia with NPCs plus PCs, and also just include Clue, the 3 things, right? Who, how, where. And you play that game of Mafia and you determine over time what has happened. Okay, let's also just ask here, how do you make it Knives Out specific if you're trying to emulate some of the cool parts of Knives Out?
I think Knives Out has and I'm actually curious about your opinion on this. I think Knives Out has a specific vibe of like whimsy that I think is pretty different from a lot of murder mysteries.
Yeah.
Like I as somebody who's like I've like head over heels in love with like the author like Agatha Christie and like all those murder mysteries. And then When There Were None was my favorite book growing up. And as much as they've really tried to make Murder of the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, they've done okay. But I think there's a very specific vibe to Agatha Christie that's very daunting and ominous and like anxious, versus I think Knives Out is weirdly whimsical and like kind of comedic.
Yeah.
So I almost think there has to be like every character is so weird and unique, and kind of like it's almost like you get an air of like, why are you the way you are, and why do you do what you do? This is so funny. I think that is the vibe of like Knives Out, is that like each person is so weird and like just funny that make it kind of fun to like watch a murder mystery like that,
Yeah. Well, honestly, what you're talking about here is sort of the resonance and vibe, right? The vibe is weirder. It's whimsical. It's less dark. It's not brooding. It's not ominous, right? Like even the fact that we've got Daniel Craig playing a Southern dude who has a bad, weird Southern accent, right? Like it's like, he's like Sean Connery doing a Southern accent. Like it's a very weird thing.
Granted, but it is the only way what comes next makes sense.
The other thing that's I think you identify that's very important is nobody in Knives Out is a regular person. They're not like, I'm just Joe, and I've been married to Mary for 15 years, and I have one child, and I live in Staten Island. It's like, nope. It's like, no, he's like a 15 billionaire who wears peacock clothes for fun, and he's doing it. Like, no, everybody's weird. Everybody's eccentric, everyone's a caricature, and I would definitely lean into that because that will make it feel right. Plus, in D&D context, that will feel even more fun and memorable for people as well.
Yes, 100%.
Because you don't have the physical visual element of being able to see, and you don't have the words in front of you to read. When you read, you actually retain information in a different way. When you see it on a screen, you retain information in a different way. You're kind of missing both of those components. You actually mostly just have auditory. When you have that, making it weirder makes it more memorable, which will make it stand out, and people will kind of remember or have fun.
Yeah.
So generate some caricature weird scenarios for people in order to make this happen.
I agree. The weirder the scenario and the caricature, the weirder the backstory, the better. Also, I think that leans into the fact that each character should have a secret. I think that's really fun. I think secrets and rumors are a tool that you can use. That's notoriously, and Kyle knows this, notoriously I like doing stuff like that, and like Bridgerton D&D. And it's like when you have rumors and you have secrets on pieces of paper that you can either pass around, or you could just like, each person gives you as the DM excuse me, each person gives you as the DM a secret that they have of themselves that the DM can slowly like weave into the story of the one shot as time goes on, I think that's really fun.
That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen you do from a mechanical like dungeon mastering perspective is have everybody, as you said, everyone writes down a secret for their character. You either keep it and you hand it to the dungeon master, and then you hand it to the dungeon master, and the dungeon master works it in, right? Or hands it out to people when they discover information. You discover, oh man, this character's secret is blank, and that's very murder mystery, right? So here's what I would say, because we spent a lot of time on this, but the murder mysteries are so much more of, they're a lot less about plot. They're so much more about structure, right? Like you need these components. And then once you kind of determine that, everything works itself out. It's just like, what's the inciting quest? Obviously someone got murdered and we're just going to solve the problem, right? Who's the villain? The murderer. Right? Like
easy
stuff, right?
Easy
so
stuff.
We're already kind of there. So mechanically, what I would want the GM to do is write down a bunch of objects, locations, and people, like everybody all the PCs plus like 4 or 5, maybe 6 others, right?
Yeah.
Like 10 total options maximum for each, right? But as people go around and do investigation checks in various areas, you can hand them, if they do well, you hand them a clue. But the clue is either determined by the GM or random of like the 30 options it could have been, right? And it could be just a secret or rumor, right? And you just learn information that kind of over time, and everyone gets handed it, right? But of course, just like the way that some of these games work, at the beginning of the game, you can hand like 2 or 3 clues to each player, so they already know some information about other people and stuff that's going on. And this also makes it very replayable. You can always keep the same objects, write down new secrets, and get going. And this is just improved Mafia / Clue. And that's already pretty set up, and you can kind of run it over and over and over again. Maybe we just invented a board game, Taylor.
Hilarious.
Any extra frothy things or weird for us things, because we've actually sort of determined the rest of it.
The weird thing for me is props. You gotta have props. I don't think you have to have props, but I think that is going to give you everything. Every time you bring up a weapon, pull it out. Like as a DM, pull it from behind the screen and give it to the players. And that's like that's the coolest thing in the world. But yeah, that would be the weird thing for me is props. I mean, there's also music and costumes, and like you guys could really get into it. But definitely props.
Yeah, if you've never done a murder mystery dinner, right? It's very fun to kind of dress up for these, or at least have the themes going throughout. And that would be sort of one of the extra frothy things that I would say is if you can craft a premise that's based around something you can actually semi-do as a group, like, for example, have dinner. That sort of thing would be very fun. It makes the vibes, enhances the vibes. It's extra fun. With that, like we've already touched on the general ideas for the inciting quest and the threat level. I would say, what's a fun premise to give people just to get started, so that let's make it centered around dinner some way, shape, or form. But where's the dinner taking place, and who dies or why? Like we'll kind of write that down, Taylor. We'll just get people started, and then we'll see what happens afterwards.
If this is D&D, this is fantasy. I think you are all mercenaries or like hired guns, right? Who have like done different tasks for this like big boss in a way. And you are all called to have a dinner. One dinner to appreciate you all. But as you show up to the dinner, your big boss is not alive at the dinner table. And you have to figure out which one of you showed up at what times, which rooms were you in the house before dinner actually started, and who was the one to get rid of your big boss so that maybe you could take all the money for yourself.
All right. I'm down for that. I really want to call this one shot Dead at Dinner.
Dead at Dinner!
Excellent stuff.
I love it.
Love some alliteration. I'm getting some Mafia vibes from this.
You know, you could have everyone show up on the eve of my brother Tony's wedding anniversary.
I knew you were going to say wedding.
I mean, hey, Godfather 2 wedding, all right? Very important.
Right.
So that's my vibe.
Have everyone show up with a little bit more of a,
I love it.
a vibe with a nice pinstripe suit.
I love it.
Anyway, I love using that voice. It's so much fun. We're going to give a recap. So, what makes a good murder mystery? Someone has to die, and the mystery has to be challenging but solvable. So we've come up with some mechanics to make that happen by pulling from like Clue, Betrayal, Blood on the Clock Tower, etc., and making sure that people can't leave the location. From a creation standpoint, work backwards. Create the murder first and then determine everything else backwards of like, oh, who did it, etc. And we need to let the players have a big reveal and say, this is how everything happened. But to make this a little simpler on ourselves and potentially make it replayable, we're going to kind of have it be Mafia/Clue combined. We're going to have, I would just suggest 7 weapons, 7 people, 7 locations, and each player writes down 3 rumors or secrets for themselves. And when players investigate, they gain clues or rumors to determine things, learning something new. They'll find the murder weapon and they'll realize there's no evidence of any tampering here. They don't think it's this or that, right? And you can also slightly alter the results based on how well they investigate. If the person gets a 5, they're like, oh, hey, you have a sword, and the sword did not kill the guy, but it has a giant thing of blood, but they just rolled really poorly, and they're like, it's fine, it's not the murder weapon. To make it more Knives Out, every PC should be a weird caricature, and the plot and premise is everyone is a mercenary who's done all different tasks for a big boss, all called to have a dinner of appreciation. The big boss is dead at dinner. That's the name of the one shot, Dead at Dinner, and we can determine who killed him in order to take over, have his fortune, or just not die because, you know, you killed the mafia boss. And
He's gonna leave a horse head in your bed.
Oh my gosh.
so apparently we just need to review The Godfather and all these mafia movies at some point too. So
I know we're gonna have to do.
I can do all my different voices.
We gotta do Godfather.
Yeah. Oh man, you gotta watch Godfather first. So
I will watch Godfather.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video, and you can like and follow for more content like this.
This is how we brew it.
Jurassic Park, How to Train Your Dragon, The Princess Bride, Inception, Matrix, Mad Max, Fury Road, John Wick, Ghostbusters, Pokemon, Hunger Games, 28 Days Later.
Hey friends, also just want to shout out our patrons on Patreon, Matthew Matheny, who upgraded to the Covenant Cleric tier. Thanks so much, Matthew. And also our other Follow the Compass tier patrons, Fizz and Fedorable Will. Thanks, everybody. And if you join our Patreon, we would appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this.